This is a Cupra Born. Basically what it is a Volkswagen ID.3. It's got some steroids and some tribals. Talk about a stereotype. In this video, I'm gonna check out how this car charges, how much it consumes, short bit about how the car drives, and then I found 5 things I love about this car and 5 things that I don't like so much. A Cupra Born is built in Germany, side by side with the ID.3. It shares technology with the ID.3, and that means that it has a permanent magnet motor on the rear axle, rear-wheel drive, and in Denmark, where I'm located, you get to choose from 2 battery sizes. The car in the video has the large battery of 82 kilowatt-hours total capacity and 77 kilowatt-hours net capacity, which is the same size as the current ID Buzz uses. In the Born, it has a WLTP range of 548 kilometers. It differs from the ID.3 with a younger and more aggressive design. The copper-colored ornamentation in particular characterizes the German-produced Spaniard. Like its cousin, the ID.3, the car offers reasonable space in the cabin, good seats, a reasonable luggage compartment, no frunk, no option for a tow bar, and a typically good German impression of quality. The infotainment you get is okay, but not among the best. The navigation gives you estimated state of charge, but not as easy to use as in a Tesla. The first thing that I think it's really cool about the Cupra Born is that Volkswagen has gone out officially and said that in the future, actually also pretty near future, they haven't put a date on that yet, but in pretty near future they will adopt Android Automotive into their cars. And in my opinion, the Tesla infotainment is the best you can get in an EV. But the second best, and very close to that, is the Android Automotive. And all the other systems, they're, just lacking here and there. So a Volkswagen product with an Android Automotive is, in my opinion, very exciting. And that's thing number 1 that I am pretty excited about and I love about this car. The second thing that I really love about the Cupra Born is that it has drive modes. Well, you get that in a lot of MEB cars, but in this one you also have this direct Cupra button, a bit like a M button in a BMW M car, and then it just sets everything up for partying. I love that feature. A thing I really like about the Cupra Born is the design. It has these sporty skirts down the side, it has the diffuser look in the rear, and generally, the design, the headlights, everything is just more to my taste than the ID.3. I see a car like this, like the ID.3's younger, sportier, and more chic younger brother. A thing I'd really like to mention that I love about the Cupra Born is just beneath this large rear spoiler, which I also like, but that's not the thing. The thing is actually the rear wiper here. It's genius, and a lot of other EV manufacturers could learn from that. And the 5th thing that I love about the Cupra Born is the dark headliner. Yeah, lots of people like loads of lights and the light materials inside the car, but in a car like this, the dark headliner, in my opinion, is the only way to fly. But of course, there are also 5 things that I don't like so much about the Cupra Born, and the 4 of those things I can tell about while sitting here in the driver's seat. Thing number 1 are these buttons. In Danish, I'm a Danish YouTuber, in Danish they would be called haptisk. I'm not sure what the name is in English for these buttons, but they're just bloody irritating. Another thing that's really irritating is the way that you command the climate control, because you have these buttons, the blue and the red stuff, and in daytime that's no problem. But in nighttime you can't see them because they're not lit up. So you don't know what you're actually doing, and when these buttons on the steering also are so bad that you basically have trouble controlling your volume on the radio, you have to do this on the touch bar under the screen here, and you end up going at 32 degrees Celsius in the cabin and stuff like that. It's really irritating, and yeah, that could just be better. Put some lights in there, could be good. A third thing that I really think is a pity in a Cupra Born is that this is a driver's car. And yeah, this is the first MEB car. I haven't driven the ID.3, but this is the first MEB car that doesn't have the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel to alter your regen. Why not? Oh yeah, and then there's the view, or actually what's missing out the rear window. Oh yeah, and the fifth thing that I really miss in this car is here. There's no frunk. Behind the wheel in the Cupra Born, you feel that this car is set up to be enjoyable to drive. It's a driver's car, and I really like that. It of course also has the possibility to get assisting systems. You get the travel assist, as you can get also in the ID.3, ID.4, Skoda Enyaq, etc. And the travel assist is really, really good. You get an adaptive cruise control, which keeps a distance to the car in front of you all the way down to a halt, and also if you use it in town, you can actually do that. It also stops and goes again if you don't park for too long, if you don't hold still too long. Another thing is that it reads the traffic signs and adapts the speed in a manual time before entering a zone where you go slower. You can also engage the auto steer, which is very good. Not quite on level with BMW and Mercedes, but really, really good in my opinion. When you're driving an EV, you also have the recuperation. In an MEB car, you can choose to drive in D or in B. B is the brake mode, where when you release the accelerator, it will decelerate and actually put some energy back to the battery. Sadly, it doesn't decelerate all the way down to a halt, not all the way down to 0 kilometers an hour, and it also doesn't have the same amount of recuperation as a Polestar or a Tesla. In my Danish video, I also did a noise test of the Cupra Born, and the noise level is 1 to 2 dBs higher than, for example, a Skoda Enyaq. I owned 2 of those myself, actually. And they're, as I said, a couple of dB lower, and so is the Ioniq 5 and cars like that. But it's very fine. It's actually still quieter inside the cabin, both at 80 and 130 kilometers an hour, where I measured, than a Tesla Model 3. Just the other night, I also did a charging test of this car. Cupra claims that this car can peak at 135 kilowatts and charge from 10 to 80% in 36 minutes. I always do a charging test on my Danish channel from 10 to 80%, and how that went out you can watch right here. Now I'm parked on a piece of road where I'm allowed to drive 90 kilometers an hour. I'm gonna do a 0 to 100. Yeah, I know that's not quite allowed, but that's a little thing, I think. Cupra claims that this car can accelerate from a 0 to 100 kilometers an hour on 7 seconds straight. This car has the e-boost. In Denmark, when you buy the Cupra Born with the large battery, you always get the e-boost version. And the e-boost, it buffs up the power from 150 kilowatts to 170 kilowatts. That's equivalent from 204 horsepower to 231 horsepower. And it has 310 Newton meters. The funny thing is that you can also get this car with a smaller battery. That's 62 kilowatt hours total capacity, 58 kilowatt hours net capacity. And that car you can also get in the e-boost version with the same claimed power. And actually that car is lighter because the battery is smaller, and therefore that car is actually 4/10 of a second quicker from 0 to 100. But now I'm going to accelerate this car, which is the model with the large heavy battery and the long range. But the battery, I don't know how warm it actually is. The temperature outside right now is 6-7 degrees Celsius. But I'm going into the Cupra mode. I'm gonna launch it on 3, 2, 1, go. Pretty slow off the line, but actually in the mid acceleration, yeah, pretty cool. But actually when you get past 20-30 kilometers an hour, the car actually takes off, and I definitely think I can feel the extra 20 kilowatts. Let's look at the numbers. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour was on 6.96 seconds. Way to go, Cupra, and my state of charge is 60%. In my Danish video, I actually also drove this car on cobblestone roads to check out how the build quality of the car is, and it was very fine, nothing rattling in the cabin. So now I've been driving this car for a week, the Cupra Born e-boost with the 77 net capacity kilowatt hour battery. And what do I think about this car? I actually like it very much. I like the design, I like the way it drives, I like the assisting systems, I like the performance of it, but you could argue that here in Denmark it's pretty pricey. It's actually right in the middle between a Tesla Model 3 and a long-range Tesla Model 3 version, and both those cars actually has, especially the long-range model with the four-wheel drive, has significantly, oh that's hard to say for a Dane, more power than this rear-wheel drive. But I like the way the rear-wheel drive drives, and in my opinion this is almost like an ancient Golf GTI. And the Golf GTI was also often not the quickest of the hot hatches. I'd also like to talk a bit about my consumption this week I've been driving this car. The temperatures have been very all over the place. A couple of days it's been freezing below 0, -2, -3 degrees Celsius. So actually 2 mornings in this week where I've been driving this car in late March 2023. I've been removing snow and ice from the car. But I also drove in 8-9 degrees Celsius. So my mixed consumption over the week, with a lot of short distance journeys, but also some motorway testing, stuff like that, I did 210 watt hours per kilometer. And that would give me an estimated range on 100% state of charge of 366 kilometers, which is actually very nice. I also tested this car at 130 kilometers an hour on the motorway. And when I do this test, I try to be constantly at 130 kilometers an hour. And there I ended up with a consumption of 265 watt hours per kilometer. And here I'm actually still almost at 300 kilometers of range, and that was at approximately 4 degrees Celsius. And I think it's pretty important to say that normally you can't keep a speed of 130 kilometers an hour over a longer period of time unless you drive really fast. And yeah, that's not legal here in Denmark. So yeah, normally if I go on a long journey, my speed over the course would normally be approximately 100 kilometers an hour on the motorway. And of course that would give me some more range and less consumption. Then there was the charging tests. A little over 31 minutes from 10 to 80%. It's very mediocre here in 2023, and cars always get better. I myself have owned 2 Skoda Enyaqs, and these cars, the MEB cars, are not all still able to thermally control the battery temperature prior to DC charging, and that can be a problem in very cold climates. But here in the week I've been driving this car, it charged just fine, and I was pretty close to 0 degrees Celsius. But funny enough, I've been charging an ID.3 rear-wheel drive version with the same size battery, and that car actually did the 10 to 80% in below 27 minutes. On the other hand, I also charged a Skoda Enyaq RS in the coupe version, and that charged on the same size battery from 10 to 80% in, I think that was 36 minutes. So what I'm saying is that these cars, I believe that the batteries are maybe from different manufacturers, and therefore the BMS, the battery management system, doesn't allow the car to obtain the same amount of power over time as some of the other models with the same size battery. And you can actually also see it. Some cars are claimed to charge at up to 135 kilowatts, and some cars are claimed to be able to charge at up to 170 kilowatts. But actually what my experience is that the cars that are claimed to can be able to charge at 135 kilowatts are actually the cars with the best charging curve. So they're able actually to charge from 10 to 80% quicker than the cars where the peak is approximately at 170 kilowatts. Thanks for watching this video. If you like my content, please feel free to leave a like and a nice comment, and maybe even subscribe on my channel. That would mean the world to me. Have a nice day. Bye.